G'day there and welcome to the first edition of SharePoint Saturday. My name is Daniel Anderson and this is a new edition of the newsletter where every single Saturday I will be inside your inbox delivering you one little snippet of learning all around SharePoint and SharePoint only. Now today we're going to be tackling the concept of metadata, what it is, how to create it, how to use it, and what the impact and the benefits are of metadata, and in particular on our document libraries. So that is the focus of the first episode. Now there's always been a debate and conversation about should we use folders or should we use metadata. I'm not going to enter into that debate. I'm just going to show you the power of metadata specifically on document libraries. So let's just dive in and get stuck into it. We can see that I'm in a SharePoint team site here, and I'm in the policies or a policies library that I have created. This is the end result, okay? So we can see that we've got a library with no folders. We've got the name of the file, we've got a department column, we've got a policy type, we've got a review date, a document owner, and then we've got the version number on the right-hand side. Now, if we look up Wikipedia about the term metadata and what it is, metadata really is information about data that isn't specifically related to the content of that data. So, for example, this policy here is we've got 4 custom pieces of metadata that tell a little bit more information about this particular file. We've got what department it lives in, we've got the type of policy, and we've also got the review date and also the owner of that document. So this metadata forms more information and tells people a little bit more information about this particular file, all right? So where that can be used across SharePoint are things like search and the highlighted content web part, filters and views that we'll get into in other editions as well. So how do we go about creating this metadata? So I'm going to pop into a brand new SharePoint site here. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new document library. So I'm going to go to the new button and document library. Now we'll see here that we've got a new experience here that's just rolling out at the time of this recording, where we're provided with a couple of out-of-the-box templates that Microsoft provide. We've got media library, invoices, and learning. Now if I click on invoices, for example, you can see that I get a preview of what the invoices library is going to look like after I've provisioned it from this template. Now this metadata here, you can see that it comes with payment, status, amount, vendor, all of that sort of stuff. And that is what we call metadata. So if we had a use case for an invoices library, then we could use this template. I'm not going to use that template though. I'm going to start from scratch. So I'm going to create a blank library and I'm going to call this policies. I'm going to show it in the site navigation and we're just going to create it. Now, when you create a new SharePoint document library, it comes with a default or a set of metadata that is there out of the box. Now, we've got name, we've got modified by, and if I click on add column and I go show or hide columns, you can see that we've got more metadata that is just there out of the box, right? So created by and created are two other columns or bits of metadata that come when you create a document library. Now, what if we want to create our custom columns that we saw before, the custom metadata of department, policy type, review date, and document owner? Well, there's a couple of different ways that we can do it. We can hit the add column and we can choose create a column, and we can choose a column from the list or the data type from this list here. Now, this just puts this and it associates that column with this particular list. We're going to create what we call a site column though. And this means that it creates a column or a piece of metadata that we can reuse across different libraries or different lists in this particular site called SharePoint Saturday. Now to do that, what we do is we click in the cog in the top right hand corner, we go to site information, and then what we want to do is we want to go to view all site settings. Now, under the Web Designer Galleries heading here, you can see that we've got site columns and we've got site content types. So I'm going to select site columns and we're going to create a site column for department. So I'm going to click the create button and let's call this Contoso department, all right? And we'll give that the column name. Now, a good idea here also is to create the column with no spaces in it first, and then we'll go back and we will rename the title of this column shortly, okay? So we're going to choose the choice column, and we're just gonna pop in a few different options here down under here, okay? So we've got HR, IT, finance, and legal. Now, I'm going to create a new group for this, all right? So we're going to, and I'll show you where that appears in a minute. So we're going to create a new group. I'm just going to put underscore Contoso as the new group, and we'll go site columns. So Contoso site columns, and we'll leave everything as is. We'll leave it as a drop-down menu. If you wanted multiple select, then you could have checkboxes and you could select multiple values in that column. So I don't want to have a default value, so I'm just going to blank that out and I'll click OK. All right, so that's now creating what we call a site column. Now you can see that this is where those columns, our custom columns, reside, all right, in this group that we just called Contoso site columns. Now, if I go back now to the policies library, okay, I want to add that column that I've just created to this library. So cog settings menu, I'm going to go to library settings, I'm going to go to more library settings again, and here is where we've got our columns. Now you can see here that we've got our standard and our default metadata here: created, modified, title, description, created by, modified by, and also checked out too. What I want to do though is I want to add from an existing site column, because we've just created our site column. Now I can say, let's have a look at this custom group that I've just created, and there's my Contoso department. I'm going to add that. I am going to add it to the default view, and I'll click OK. Now, once I've clicked OK, that's now been added to the library. Now we can see here that we've got our column here. But I don't want this, I don't want it joined together. I want to have a space. So what I want to do is I want to go to column settings. I'm going to go to edit, and then I'm going to go and put a space in there. Now, because we've got a choice column, we can actually do a little bit of color coding here. So I want everything that's been tagged with HR to be red, IT green, finance purple, and legal blue, and I'm going to hit save. All right, so now we're good to go, right? So we've got a column called Contoso department, and we can go about and then create our other site columns, add them to the library, and then you would have something like this as an end result. So here, been done before, I've got department, I've got policy type, I've got review date, and I've got document owner. Now, how do we use this metadata? What is the best approach? Well, what can we do? All right. So the first thing that this metadata allows us to do is create, and we're going to go through how we create different views based on this metadata. So let's say that we want to create a view just for HR policies in our case. So I am going to click the little arrow next to the department title, and I'm going to filter by, and I'm going to say, just show me everything that's been tagged with the HR department. So now in the top right hand corner here where it says all documents, this is where our views live. We click all documents and we go save view as, and I want to say human resources policies. So now I want to make it public, and I'll hit save. So now what we've just done is created a specific view called Human Resources Policies. We've got all documents, which is everything, but then we've also got Human Resources Policies. And you can see there, we've got only the ones that have been tagged or marked as HR policies. All right, so a really nice way to filter and slice and dice all of your documents in that library with a particular tag. Now, the good thing here is that each view that we create has its own unique URL as well. So what I can do up the top here is I can copy this URL. Now, let's say we want to create kind of like a dashboard or a one-click option for people when they come to our site, and we just want we want to present them with a button that says, just show me the HR policies. So what we can do here is use that URL. I'm going to pop this page into edit mode. I'm going to use our quick links here, and I'm going to edit this quick link, and I'm going to now change where this link goes. So I'm going to choose from a link. I'm going to paste that link in, the one that I just copied to that view that I just had. I'm going to paste it in there, and I am going to say all human resources policies, and we'll give that that title. We'll change the icon here, and let's just go for a document icon, and we'll go this one here. All right, we'll select that, and we are now good to go. I'm just going to delete this one I created earlier, and I'll republish. All right, so now we've got a button here. When I click this button, I'm taken directly to that view that I just created based on our department of HR. All right, so that's one advantage and one use case for using our views and using metadata, and combined can create a great user experience. Another one here that I've pre-created is grouped by department. So here we can see that this view has been grouped by the department column. All right, so all HR, we've got IT. I can expand and collapse each of these. I can then drill into and click the title, and you can see here that I've got a filter that's been applied where it's just the legal policies. I can clear this filter, and I'm taken back to that particular view. Now, what about outside of this site? How do we surface and use that column that we've created as a site column outside of this particular site? So because we created this as a site column, the department column, the policy type, and the review date, these have all been created as site columns. What we can do is we need to convert these site columns into what we call managed properties. Now, managed properties then allow us to use that property in a search, or what we're going to see in a second, in the highlighted content web part. So to do that, we need to map what we call our site column into a managed property. So in the SharePoint Admin Center, we have under more features, we have this search center. Okay, where we can manage the search schema. Now, the search schema here, what Microsoft provide us is a bunch of blank properties that we can use, and we can map other what are called crawled properties. So that site column that we created becomes what's called a crawled property, and then we map that crawled property to what we call a managed property. Okay, so we can see that and the properties that we're going to use here in particular is called a refinable string. So I'm going to just find this refinable string, and we have a lot of these. We've got refinable dates and things like that. So we can see here that we've got a refinable string 00, and the mapped crawled property is policy type. So if I go back to this site here, I've got this column that's called policy type. So what I've done is I've mapped that property to that managed property called refinable string 00, and we're inserting and bringing that in there. Because this refinable string, we can see that it is queryable, it is retrievable, it is refinable, and it is sortable. All right, they're the things that we can do with this refinable string now. So how can we use that? So I'm going to jump onto this communication site. Let's say it's your intranet site. I'm going to hit the edit button, and I'm going to pop the highlighted content web part on the page. All right, so I'm just going to scroll down here. It can be anywhere, right? So I'm just going to hit the plus, and I'm going to choose highlighted content. Now, what the highlighted content web part allows us to do is show content based on specific criteria. So you can see we've got a filter option. Now the source is going to be all sites. So I'm going to choose all sites because the documents, or the policies in this case, are stored on this collaboration in the cloud site. All right, so I'm going to go all sites, it's going to be documents, but down here under the filter, I can choose manage property. All right, so that manage property that I want to use is actually this refinable string 00, and then I can show any document with a specific value that has been tagged with policy type. So I'm going to say refinable string 00, and we'll say if refinable string 00 equals, let's say external. All right, so we'll go external. What that's going to do is that is going to show 3 documents here that has been tagged with the policy type of external. We can give this external policies a title, we republish, and now all of a sudden I'm pulling in those policies from this site called Collaboration in the Cloud that has been, and let's just change to all documents. You can see that I've got 1, I've got 2, and I've got 3 documents here that have been tagged with external. All right, so let's just do this one more time, and I'm going to pop on the same page. We've got our external policies, but here I'm going to put another highlighted content web part on the page. I'm going to edit the properties, same settings. I'm going to go all sites, and then I'm in the filter. I'm going to go manage property. I'll paste in our manage property, remembering it's the refinable string, and we've mapped our policy type site column or crawled property to our refinable string. And I'm going to say equals, and I think we had, what did we have? We've got company. All right, so let's go equals company. And then what we'll see is we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 documents here. And if I jump back into the library, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 documents that have been tagged with company. Back to the landing, we'll republish, and now we've got 2 instances of the highlighted content web part that are pulling out and displaying the content based on that particular property. All right, I'm going to leave it there. That's the first edition of SharePoint Saturday. Bit of a crash course in metadata and in managed properties. So I hope that brings you some value today. So as I said, SharePoint Saturday, every single Saturday, delivered directly into your inbox, a little tip on how to use SharePoint in a way that's going to be more productive for you and to give you value and your SharePoint and the users that interact with your SharePoint sites value as well. So I hope that brings you some value today. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for signing up to SharePoint Saturday. If you do have other people, please do share the link to the subscription page and get them involved as well. So I'll see you in the next edition.